Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome. Hi, I'm Jeanette Lomboy, Portfolio Executive Creative Producer at Walt Disney Imagineering. I'm your moderator today, and I have the joy of talking with this great group of people. But for me, I oversee all things Our Money and the Disney Vacation Club, all of our parks and resorts. But before that, I actually oversaw all things at the Disneyland Resort, including the recent opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in Town. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? Charita, that's for you too. But before that, a long time ago, my very first job was at Disneyland. I was Storybook Land ride operator, which is one of the original attractions. It was one of the very first when we brought our animated stories to life in our parks. Now it's been almost 70 years, and I know we've come a long way from just telling stories on boats, but I'm pretty sure there are more boats to be talked about today. So really excited to share with this group, and let's get going. So, Michel.
Hello everybody, my name is Michel Den Dulk and I'm the Portfolio Executive Creative Director for Disneyland Paris. And DLP fans in the house. And working in that capacity on some exciting new developments, some of which are based on animated movies. But previously, I've worked on some projects. The first Disney project I've ever worked on that was built was Fantasy Fair here at Disneyland, expansion of Fantasyland just off the hub. And the latest project was World of Frozen at Hong Kong Disneyland.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charita Carter, and I'm a creative executive producer. I'm currently for Tiana's Bayou Adventure at both Magic Kingdom and coming very soon to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I was the producer on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway at Disney's Hollywood Studios. I also am I provide leadership for our producers worldwide at Imagineering.
Hello everybody, I am Daniel Ju. I am a Portfolio Executive Creative Director and have worked for many years on the Tokyo Disney Resort. I've had the honor to work with the Walt Disney Animation Studios on projects such as Enchanted Tales with Beauty and the Beast, Happy Ride with Baymax, and most recently, Fantasy Springs.
Hello everybody, my name is Emo and I am a Portfolio Executive Producer, most recently for the Tokyo Disney Resort Portfolio. And now I am here at the Disneyland Portfolio. So excited to be here. I have spent many years with Imagineering working with our studio partners on the Beauty and the Beast ride, the Baymax ride, and other areas such as Cars Land. Yeah, excited to be here with everybody.
Hi everyone, I'm Dustin Schofield. I'm an Executive Creative Director. I worked on Shanghai Disneyland's Camp Discovery ropes course, and also most recently the Zootopia expansion at Shanghai Disney Resort.
Hi everyone, I'm Robert Gould. I'm the Creative Director of Creative Legacy at Walt Disney Animation Studios. I started at Disney Animation 30 years ago, and 20 years ago started working with Imagineering full-time. And I've had the amazing opportunity to work with all these talented and extraordinary people. And you're all asking, what is Creative Legacy? Well, it's a team that I lead at Disney Animation that collaborates with Imagineering wherever our characters and stories appear throughout the world. And there's a long legacy of that. It started with Walt's earliest Imagineers, like Mark Davis, Mary Blair, the extraordinary Claude Coates. And we continue that legacy of our animation artists working directly with Imagineers to bring our stories to life in ways big and small. And why? It's because everyone at the animation studio loves the Disney parks. So when Imagineering calls and says they want to bring one of our stories to life, we get super excited. And Creative Legacy's focus is to collaborate with WDI to help make all of our park experiences feel like natural extensions of the films. The range of projects that we get involved with is extraordinary. From lands like a Belle and Beast Village and Beast Castle in Tokyo, attractions in all many extraordinary ways. And it's all about connecting the filmmakers with the Imagineers, like Michel here with David Wormsley, production designer of the Frozen films. Well, as we'll discuss today, we often create original animation for our attractions at nighttime spectaculars using both traditional animation and 3D animation. And as an animator myself, it's always exciting to bring these characters to life for these new experiences. One of the wonderful things we get to do is actually model our characters, and now we can give those characters directly to WDI to bring them out in 3D and really make them feel like they popped off the screen. Meet and greets are often one of the first ways that our film characters come to life in the parks, and our filmmakers are always thrilled to work closely on these and blown away by the attention to detail. So many different kinds of projects. Moana production designer Ian Gooding helped the Epcot Journey of Water team capture the spirit of graffiti. And we collaborate with Disney Live Entertainment on parades, on stage shows, with the Disney Cruise Line, with the hotel teams, in restaurants. In fact, Dallas Palace in the film was actually inspired by this building in Disneyland. So this is a fun full circle moment. With topiary and so much more. In whatever way we bring our characters and stories to the park, it's all about collaboration, which is what we're here to celebrate today. And these Imagineers are just such a joy to work with. It's really a privilege for me.
Thanks, Roger. Collaboration is key. I know that many of you haven't yet had the opportunity to experience firsthand the amazing projects we're covering today. So I'd love to hear, all of us would love to hear, a brief overview from each of you on your projects around the world. So Michel, let's get started with you. Let's take us through the world of Frozen in Hong Kong.
All right, I'd be delighted to take you through World of Frozen. Is there anyone that has made it to World of Frozen already in the audience? Okay, great. So, World of Frozen in Hong Kong Disneyland, a project that will always be dear to my heart. Which is a wonderful project to work on. And, you can see Elsa's castle there from the film, and we translated that castle into this one that you see in the land. It's the first fully immersive land based on Frozen that opened in our parks, and it's just a wonderful place to discover and do everything that it has to offer. As you walk into the land, it's based all the way located all the way at the end of the park, at the back of Fantasyland. And as you make your way there, you'll see that the land actually is divided in two areas, a forest area and a village area. And right in the center of it is this very beautiful grand lake. At the very end is the castle. And that lake kind of serves as a reflecting pond. And especially at night when the castle is uplit, it beautifully reflects in the water. So on the left-hand side of the lake is the village area. And there's a lot of great things you can explore there. There's the beautiful architecture, charming facades, and some of you might know that Hong Kong Disneyland's design, Main Street, is based off of Disneyland. So it has like a sort of a smaller, like almost dollhouse scale to it. So we really paid attention to that for the design of the lands in this park. So the really disarming village there with some very recognizable icons from the film scattered around, like, for example, the fountain, Friendship Fountain. This is a beautiful statement in the center of the village. And if you stay until after the sun has set and it's dark, it comes to life at night, accompanied with music and lighting. We have the clock tower. The clock tower was first featured in a short called Frozen Fever. So we created that in our land as an icon. And then, of course, no Frozen land can be complete without an Elsa's Ice Palace on top of the North Mountain. As you make your way through the village, there's a lot of charming spaces you can, explore, like this restaurant here, the Golden Crocus Inn, best restaurant in town. So if you ever make it there, be sure to eat something here. And the food is so good that Anna and Elsa even have their own dining room, a royal dining room here in the restaurant. If you are looking for some sweets, we have Northern Delights, which is a great shop for some baked goods, ice cream, and other sweets. And we have this wonderful merchandise store. It's actually the toy store of Arendelle. Above the entrance, you see a little statue, the Steadfast Tin Toy Soldier. And that is an homage to Hans Christian Andersen. The fairy tale was featured in Fantasia 2000. And of course, Hans Christian Andersen is the author of The Snow Queen, which of course Frozen is loosely based off of. And then we have an all-new version of Frozen Ever After. For me, it was very special to have another opportunity to work on this attraction and create a completely new one. So although it has a lot of familiarity with the original in Epcot, it's a lot more mature version of the attraction with more effects. The latest iteration of our audio animatronic characters, special effects, and 1.5 minute longer ride duration. And then the other attraction in the land is called Wandering Oaken Sliding Sleighs. The very quirky salesman from the forest got his own attraction now, World of Frozen. And as you make your way through the cabin, deep inside his workshop, you'll discover that Sven and Olaf are actually helping him operating this summer snow sleigh ride. Really charming. And it's a fun, little junior coaster ride that is fun for the young and the young at heart. But I would say it's probably one of the best looking junior coasters in the world. And next to that is a place that we call Playhouse in the Woods. And this is where you can meet Anna and Elsa up close in a very intimate, theatrical experience. Really charming and unique to Hong Kong Disneyland. And our entertainment is also spread out throughout the whole land. Maybe some of you have seen online a character called Mossy, which is a troll that interacts with guests in the forest area. And of course we have Anna, Elsa, Kristoff. They're all part of this land. But if there's one thing that I'm probably most proud of in this whole project is that it's located in such a beautiful area. Hong Kong Disneyland is the only Disney park that has a mountainous backdrop, and we took that to our full advantage in designing this land. And I might talk about that just a little later on and go a little deeper on that. But that's, when you see it, the layering that those mountains create is just absolutely stunning. So, really happy with that.
Yeah, awesome. I like that. It's pretty amazing. And that doesn't stop there, right? This isn't the only recent opening celebrating our animated stories in Asia. In fact, over to Dustin to talk about Zootopia that just opened at Shanghai Disneyland.
Perfect. When guests enter Zootopia, we wanted them to feel just like they were walking in the paws of Judy Hopps herself, surrounded by the same sense of optimism and excitement she had when she first arrived to be Zootopia's first bunny police officer. Better yet, we're there on the biggest day of the year. It's Zootopia Day, which is the day that Predator and Prey celebrate living together in harmony. From the moment we enter, we feel the sights and sounds of the city as we head down Main Street. You heard that right, M-A-N-E Street. And of course, we visually reinforce the sense of hyper-diversity of the city in all of our facades, which is really sort of a big high concept we have for the land. And we wanted to see that animals of all sizes were accommodated in Zootopia, from the smallest lemming all the way to the tallest elephant. You can see the contrast in scale and animal motifs throughout the various businesses in the land. We even have an elephant-sized park bench that makes a perfect covered parking space for the mouse-sized vehicles. Even the food is immersive and reflects the various scales of mammals in the world. This was very much a passion project of ours to bring this level of activation and immersion into the parks. We really wanted to have that sort of complete emotional thread that started from the moment you entered the land and continued all the way to the moment you exited the Big Anchor attraction. Moving through the city, you see its residents going about their everyday lives, like this giraffe doing his daily workout routine. But even better, the treadmill gears down below are the gym for the mice. On the second floor above, Gazelle's backup dancers have opened a dance club where you see them celebrating Zootopia Day alongside mammals of all sizes. In Zootopia, mammals tall and small are accommodated throughout the city. The city's public transit system even has a lemming hypertube where we see lemmings zooming through on their daily commute. At the Metro, there's a subway train where we see various mammals boarding and exiting the very train Judy Hopps arrived to Zootopia in herself. Various moments come to life in the upper windows throughout the land, where characters interact with guests in over 20 different shows a day. You might even get a word in with Flash, if you're lucky. And of course, the land transforms and feels even more exciting and alive at nighttime. Our main attraction is called Zootopia Hot Pursuit, where we join an aspirational police chase alongside Judy and Nick. Just like Judy, we enter through the front door of ZPD, greeted by no other than Claude Officer himself, who's more excited about Zootopia Day than anyone. He tells us all about Gazelle and sends us on our first day orientation tour of the department. During our tour, we encounter various inmates at the jail who warn us about Bellwether. By the time we get to her jail cell, she's gone. Alarms blaring, we see she's escaped from an air conditioning duct in the side of the prison. And then, of course, we're quickly called into an emergency brief with Chief Bogo. Interrupted by a hostage video, we learn that Bellwether has just kidnapped Gazelle in an effort to thwart the big Zootopia Day celebration. We're quickly sent to our cruisers and we're off to save the day. We join our heroes in Tundra Town, where a bus goes wrong, sending spinning on the icy floors of a Tundra Town warehouse. Next, we're seeking and searching for Gazelle in the desert district of Sahara Square. We even go into Mystic Springs for a few uncomfortable encounters. And we even race high in the canopy of Rainforest District. Ending in a big high-stakes chase through downtown Zootopia, where we, of course, capture Bellwether and save Gazelle just in time for the big concert tonight. And we get her on stage and get to be part of that celebration ourselves. And we end our show with Nick and Judy, our heroes, thanking us for a job well done, and they even officially welcome us to the first day, or they officially welcome us to the Zootopia Police Department. Pretty good for our first day at ZPD.
Dustin, that's so fun. I want to reserve a crash. So if that isn't enough, in Asia, Tokyo also just celebrated a major land opening. It's unbelievable what's been going on, right? I know. Daniel and Nemo, you both oversaw this incredibly large land, one of the largest ever built by Walt Disney Imagineering. You gotta tell us about it. We'll start with you, Daniel.
Well, Fantasy Springs is the 8th port of Tokyo DisneySea, and I would like to call out our executive creative director is here sitting on the front row, Robert Coltrane. Disney legend. The whole idea about Fantasy Springs is that we wanted to create a fantasy land for Tokyo DisneySea, and for those of you who have been there, it is a beautiful, beautiful immersive park. So we wanted to make sure that our land met up to that challenge. There are 3 themed areas of the land. There's Peter Pan's Neverland, there is Rapunzel's Forest, and of course Anna and Elsa's Frozen Kingdom. But what ties these 3 stories together is the magical springs. And it's the magical waters of the springs can reach out and visit all the different Disney stories from our fantasy stories from Disney animation. And so they can bring them together, and they have carved the rockwork, molded the pools into these stories. So we're able to celebrate many, many different stories of Disney animation in these pools. There's, of course, Peter Pan, Rapunzel, Anna and Elsa, but then there's also Pocahontas, there's Bambi, there's Alice in Wonderland, and many of our princesses are represented in these beautiful, beautiful pools. And at night, they glow and have a sparkle that is really quite magical. I hope that you all are able to go out and visit Fantasy Springs. But one of the bigger areas of the land is Peter Pan's Neverland. And of course, in Neverland, you have the volcanoes, you have Captain Hook's ship, you have Skull Rock. The Lost Kids have a Lookout Cookout restaurant for you to dine in, and there are 2 major attractions there. The first is Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure, and in that attraction, we find out that the Lost Kids in their hideout have discovered through Peter Pan and Tinkerbell that Captain Hook has captured John Darling, and so it is our job to help them save John Darling. So we gather into our boats, we join the Lost Kids, we help them get ready, and we go off on our adventure down the river. But of course, with a little bit of pixie dust, we're able to fly over Neverland and not just float through Neverland. So we fly through Neverland, we find Captain Hook's ship, and we help to save John Darling. But we then take the Darling Kids home to London, where they can be safe and sound for another day of adventure. We then fly with Peter Pan past the second star to the right, back to Neverland. It is really quite an amazing attraction that I hope you all get to experience someday. The second attraction in the Neverland area is Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggies, where you get to shrink down to the size of a fairy. And in that world, you get to experience all sorts of found objects that have been drifted onto the shores of Neverland. And Tink asked us to help her in her delivery service through Pixie Hollow. So we get to visit Summer Glade, Autumn Harvest, Winter Woods, and finally Spring Valley, all in Pixie Hollow. And we end up meeting Cheese, the mouse. And Emo will tell you about more of Fancy Springs.
That's right. So, another area of Fantasy Springs, as Daniel mentioned, is Rapunzel's Forest. So in this area, we get to travel alongside Rapunzel, Flynn, and Pascal to the Lantern Festival. But before we go there, let's take a look at the Snuggly Duckling Tavern, where guests can have a meal in this hangout for the thugs from the film. So after the film, we get to see that inside the tavern, the spaces that the thugs have put together to explore their dreams. You know, they sing that song, I Have a Dream. And you can see in this example, the piano here, that Hook Hands practices on to become a concert pianist someday. Big dreams. In this room, Rapunzel has been quite busy painting a mural that depicts all of her friends and family, and you can see all throughout the space, there's joyous painting details on nearly every surface. Over at the Lantern Festival, we can board a boat to head towards the festival. We start in the queue area, and we can see the boat builder's preparations for the festival, where he has offered us a boat to head out to that festival. Along the way, we first find Rapunzel singing in her tower. She is leaning out the window wondering, when will my life begin? And across from her, we see Flynn kind of hiding from the palace horse Maximus, but he's also curiously noticing Rapunzel in the tower. So they're a bit apart, and throughout this attraction, we find them growing closer together. So as we get deeper into the forest, Rapunzel, now down from her tower, is swinging around the tree, having her best day ever. And one of the cute details in this scene is Pascal is kind of at the bottom of the scene, looking up at her, and his eyes are going in multiple directions, trying to follow her around the tree, as Flynn is just kind of like, what is this girl all about? As we go a little bit further into the forest, we see Rapunzel use the healing magic of her hair with the incantation to heal Flynn's hand after he's gotten hurt. And that magic ties us together with the rest of the land, actually. As we get into the Lantern Festival, we see that Rapunzel and Flynn have grown even closer together across this adventure, and they begin to sing together, probably in one of the most romantic scenes we've ever created in an attraction. The overwhelming feeling of romance is actually tangible, so much so that we know of two, not one, but two marriage proposals that have actually happened in the attraction since we put it together, and they were both successful. They both said yes. So it must work. Let's head out beyond the forest over towards Frozen Kingdom. It is springtime here, and we find ourselves in the Arendelle Village, complete with the flower market that we see in the film. We've got the Arendelle Castle in front of us, and beyond that we can see Elsa's Ice Palace in the North Mountain above the fjords, because what land for Frozen would be incomplete, if we didn't have that. We are immersed in the Arendelle of the original film, and the Arendelle Castle really is at the heart of this space. And this is, for the first time, maybe in forever, guests can enter the castle to experience the Royal Banquet Hall, which is our restaurant in the center of the land. And you know what? There's even a nod to the 8,000 salad plates. The signature space of this restaurant is, of course, the throne room, and it would be totally incomplete if we hadn't put a throne in there to take selfies, right? So there's a throne in there, so get over there and get your selfie. Beyond the castle and on the castle grounds, our attraction entrance is actually through a portion of the castle that we don't see in the films. Inside these spaces, we find play areas where Anna and Elsa spent their time as children. So we first enter a family room with familiar portraits and occasional moments in that window where you might see a little snowman peeking through the window looking for a warm hug. Another very special space is the music room, showcasing the instruments that the kids played and also this beautiful music box in the center with its rendition of Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Once we go through the rooms of the castle, we head out to a royal boat dock, board our boats, and travel into the fjords where we first come across Grandpa Troll, who is beginning to tell us the story of Anna and Elsa from their childhood when they were first separated. In front of us, we find Anna singing to Elsa's childhood bedroom door, pleading with her sister, "Do you want to build a snowman?" And as we move through the scene, the door rotates to reveal Elsa on the other side of the door, and very, very sadly saying, "Go away, Anna," as we back out of the space. As guests on this ride, we actually move through it like we are the camera from the film, which really, really enhances the emotion of the scenes with the motion of the ride vehicle. As we travel further into the story, we see Anna singing to the portraits in the portrait gallery with Elsa preparing for her coronation. And this is a unique scene where we can back through the portrait gallery and into the space where Elsa is standing and actually see both girls singing their part of the story as a combination. Along the way, guests relive the connection of Anna and Hans singing Love is an Open Door, and then into this scene where Elsa literally loses her cool, which transforms the scene with her angry ice magic as she denies the request to support their request to marry. Then from there, we see Elsa climbing the North Mountain as we climb beside her in our boat, and she is discovering the true power of her ice magic. She begins to sing Let It Go, and then this song culminates in a space where we are in the heart of the ice palace as she builds it around us. And we back out, the doors close in front of us as she finishes singing The Cold Never Bothered Me Anyway. Boom, doors close. We travel back down the mountain and in time to that magical moment when Anna, frozen from blocking Hans' sword, and his strike towards Elsa, she thaws. She literally thaws before our eyes because, of course, true love has in fact thawed a frozen heart. The finale of this attraction celebrates the true love of these sisters with all of their new friends and townspeople, even a baby reindeer enjoying the celebratory ice magic and skating through the Arendelle Castle courtyard.
Wow. Thanks, Tiana and Limo. Shanghai and Tokyo, if you needed any other excuse or reason to go to our Asia parks, this is a good reason. Or if you want to propose marriage, right? Now, over to our domestic parks, where we actually have a lot to talk about too for our very last project we're talking today. Charita, what can you tell us about our newest attraction, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which just opened at the Magic Kingdom and will be opening here later, Disneyland?
Yes, Jeanette. Well, it was 15 years ago when the Princess and the Frog animated film introduced the world to Princess Tiana. And at the end of that film, Princess Tiana, she recognized and realized her dream of owning her own restaurant. She married Naveen, and she became a princess. So that's the great, wonderful setup for a next chapter story. So Tiana has continued her culinary pursuits, and she has started Tiana's Foods. And it is an employee-owned company. And because Tiana's Foods is doing so well, and it is Mardi Gras season, Tiana and Naveen decide to throw a big party at their mansion, and absolutely everybody's invited. But there's one problem. Louis had one job, and that was to get a band, and he forgot. So you know you cannot have a party in New Orleans without a band and without music. So a clarion call goes out across the airways for volunteers to meet Tiana at Tiana's Foods so that we can go out and we can look for a band. So as you arrive at Tiana's Foods, you'll get to go through and you'll get to go through the queue line, and you will begin to see the things that motivate and inspire Tiana. community, family, friends. You'll also see nods to what you'll be experiencing in the ride itself throughout the attraction. There are Easter eggs that point to the film. You'll get to see some of the product that Tiana's Foods provides. And I know our merchandise folks are really happy with us about that. You'll also see some letters that have been written to Tiana, and there's even a nod to one of the animators who animated Lewis, Eric Goldberg, in the queue line as well. So as you go through the queue line, you're going to want to keep your eyes peeled because there are so many things to discover. And once again, we get to see Tiana's love for her family. We see that Eudora has continued her story as well. And I know here at Disneyland we have Eudora's Chic Boutique. I hope some people have checked that out so far. And it's really wonderful that Tiana is able to highlight her family as well as all of her accomplishments. Then of course we get to go through her test kitchen where we will get to experience the smell of some wonderful beignets. All right, so now that we've arrived, we load up on the logs that transport the Tiana's ingredients, and we are going to the Bayou. Now, why are we going to the Bayou to find musicians? Well, Lewis is the best musician that Tiana knows, and he is from the Bayou. And along the way, as we're going, we run into all kinds of interesting characters. Here we have Lowery, who is the armadillo. And then we enter into the Bayou where Lewis joins us along with Tiana, and Lewis discovers that Tiana was right. There are musicians in the Bayou and they can really play. So this is an example of some of the talented critters that we find in the Bayou who are playing zydeco music, which is one of the sounds that comes out of the New Orleans area. And of course, Tiana is with us all along on this adventure, and she's really impressed with what we found so far, but she encourages us to keep looking deeper because there is all kinds of treasure and wonderful talent throughout the Bayou. Now, of course, we get to encounter Mama Odie because we all know that there is magic in the Bayou, and some really fun things happen while you are traveling the Bayou, but I can't tell it all now. You'll just have to discover it pretty soon here at Disneyland if you haven't already experienced it at Magic Kingdom. And then, of course, now that we have our musicians, it is time to go to the party, so we're going to take that plunge to get to the party, and yes, you will get very wet. You have been warned. So we make it to the party and we get to see some of our friends from the film that we know. Charlotte is there, Eudora is there, and of course Tiana is there to greet us, singing an original song that was written for the attraction, along with Naveen there, and Lewis conducting all of the musicians that we have found. And then here you can see the amazing dress that Tiana wears at the party. And hopefully you'll have an opportunity, if you haven't already, to go over to the Imagineering Behind the Dreams Pavilion, where it is showcased there. And then, of course, Mama Odie gives us a wonderful kiss goodnight, along with the smell of those wonderful beignets again. And the attraction is really, really beautiful at night as well, a little extra as you experience Tiana after dark.
So much fun, Charita. We've been seeing some amazing overviews of our attractions and lands, but like you said, let's dig a little deeper. As they say in Imagineering, everything starts with a story. So let's talk about that first. Let's go to Zootopia, Hot Pursuit, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, both of which we consider next chapters of these beloved stories. Dustin, over to you.
Well, some of the best dark rides out there give you a lot of different flavors. You feel like you've seen the whole world in 5 minutes, and Zootopia gave us all of that with all of the different districts. So we knew that sort of the most aspirational thing we could do would be to go on an action-packed beach chase through all the different districts with Judy and Nick. Let's see. We also wanted this to be our story, but still feel like we were following in the footsteps of Judy Hopps, trying to key into some of the emotions guests might remember from the film.
So we played around with new villains, but ultimately landed on updating Bellwether. She's been in prison, working out, so she is buff, hardened, pierced, and deep into her mountain goat attitude. She's our parkour Bellwether.
Okay, and so as we were preparing Tiana for her next adventure, we were able to work with the animated studios and an amazing concept designer to come up with 2 new looks for Tiana. Here you're seeing her adventure wear as well as her beautiful gown that she wears at her party. So for those of you who are into cosplay, you're welcome. In our story, we find out we are celebrating the banded Bayou, and we have the opportunity in this next chapter story to really create over a dozen new characters, critters that you will find in the Bayou. They all have their own names and their backstories, and they were designed by one of our concept designers, Laura West, and she consulted with Eric Goldberg as well, and so we're really excited to bring these new and fresh characters to our guests. And then, of course, we've got, here's how they look in the attraction, a number of them. And then we also have a number of our new frogs that we have brought to life. And you'll notice that they have very interesting instruments. Our frogs and our critters have gone through and they have created their own instruments through found objects and things they found in their own environment, as well as a few man-made things. And here we have our frogs in the attraction. And if you think they're looking at you because they know something that you don't, they do.
You make it look all so easy, but that's not the whole story, is it, right? Let's talk about the challenges, right? What are the biggest challenges of creating a real dimensional land that's different from creating a story for film and television? Let's start with you, Emo.
Well, in the theme parks, these are real places and spaces that we have to be able to walk into. So our guests are able to spend a lot longer in these spaces than maybe the time they spend watching a film. So they can explore areas that don't exist in the films. So oftentimes we have to create buildings that weren't necessarily a part of the film to help convey the story. For example, how do we get guests onto a boat journey to a lantern festival? Well, we created a boathouse where there was a boat builder who provided boats for the guests.
Yeah, it's really an extraordinary thing. The Snuggly Duckling, ever since Rapunzel reunited with her parents, they've been doing great business, so they need to expand to accommodate all of you who want to eat there. And that meant, Rapunzel, she sees a blank wall and she goes for it. She has been painting up a storm. So we had to create all these new original Rapunzel designs for both the expanded Snuggly Duckling and actually this is the end of our boat builder journey.
And in Fantasy Springs, the Lookout Cookout, which is where the Lost Kids hang out, what would it be like? We needed to create a restaurant in Neverland, so we had to create an entirely different story of how the Lost Kids would pull together items that they found from shipwrecks and things that washed up to the shores of Neverland and create their own hideout where guests can now come and eat. It's not something we see in the film, but it continues the story of the Lost Kids.
Yeah, in Hong Kong, the first time I went to Hong Kong and see the site where we were going to build World of Frozen, I was immediately taken aback by the beautiful mountains at the back of the park, and I already hinted at that in my sort of intro. So the unusual situation that we had in Hong Kong was that one of the key aspects of the placemaking of the land was actually already there. Those mountains were already there. And that from that moment on was like a key driver to design the lands, and it was sort of the starting position. So when you look at the rendering here, you notice that the mountains in the front that have the snow on it, those are our artificial mountains, right? Our man-made mountains that hide the facilities, the show boxes for our attractions in the lands. But you can see that it's sort of like a V shape. There's the castle in the middle, and then it kind of tapers up to the highest point on both sides of the land. And that was very meticulously done to have those mountains in the back really speak to the total environment and to the experience. And that meant that we couldn't really recreate just the layout of the film as you saw it in the film. We really had to take the tools that the film provided us, the clock tower, the castle, some iconic architecture, but place them such so that when you look at the panoramic vista, so that the silhouette as the land as a whole, that everything sort of falls into place with those mountains as a key player to create this enormous sense of depth. So there was a little bit of a different designed approach to really take something that's actually outside of the boundaries of the park and take it as a key consideration for your design of the lands.
Thank you, Michelle. It clearly takes a lot of work and intentionality to do what we do, right? And so Imagineers are known for doing homework. So let's talk about research trips. We often do research when creating the feature animated films, and that is no different for Imagineers. Sometimes we take similar research trips to them. What are the things that you and your teams look for when you're on these trips? Hey, Roger, this is good for you.
Well, when creating the Frozen films, our filmmakers traveled through Scandinavia, particularly Norway, and found inspiration in the landscape, the architecture, and really the spirit of the places that they visited.
Yeah, and for the Frozen project, World of Frozen, we had the pleasure to also go to Norway and kind of follow in the footsteps of the filmmakers. And it's really valuable because it's valuable to see what inspired them to make the movie and to integrate all the inspiration into placemaking and costumes. But for us, it's also helpful because we need to create these areas, these facilities that are not necessarily seen in the film. So, for example, here you see our restaurant on the right-hand side, the Golden Crocus Inn. On the left-hand side is the facades of Bergen. And Bergen is a Gould UNESCO Heritage Site, city in Norway. A beautiful area, and you can see that the buildings on the left there, they kind of hug each other almost. They're attached to each other, but in the middle is an opening. It's an alleyway, and they kind of built over the alleyway. And I thought it was really unique looking. So for our restaurants, we kind of did the same thing. The buildings are sort of hugging each other. There's a central door in the middle. And because it was such a nice idea to do that, actually the color scheme is based on Anna and Elsa's coronation dresses from the film. So Anna, of course, yellow and green, and Elsa, the purple and the pink colors. Same for the interiors. We went to Norway and see a lot of interiors because we had all these charming, warm spaces that we wanted to create for the village. So this is a beautiful restaurant in Norway, and this is the interior of the Golden Crocus Inn with this beautiful staircase leading up to the royal dining room.
When our animators had to design a rustic wooden cabin for Oakens, for Wandering Oakens trading post, they built this beautiful place.
Yeah, and again, great things in Norway to see to kind of expand on that world, because we of course knew the cabin from the film from the exterior and the interior as Anna walks in and meets Wandering Oakens for the first time. But we had to create all these other spaces as well, like the queue, where there was a restroom building, restrooms, and it was located next to our cabin. So we created a new cabin for that facility. So it was really helpful to design this whole area and get some inspiration from real life Scandinavia.
And of course, the beautiful Arendal Castle was inspired by several real-world places, including the Borgen Stave Church in Norway.
Yeah, and these stave churches are just amazing. These are wooden medieval churches. They are sometimes over 1,000 years old. And if you've ever been to one like this one here, this is a very iconic one, and you visited one, you instantly recognize the smell because they smell like tar. They put tar over the wood for centuries to protect the wood, so they have a very iconic smell. But you can see the shape here really looks like the Arendal Castle, and that's because the filmmakers were inspired by the shape of a stave church, and the center part of the castle is based on that. Our castle is based after the episodes of the two movies, so that means that Elsa's ice magic is on top of it. Now, talking about challenges, in the movie, that's all digitally animated and digitally created, and physics and material are, luckily for them, for animators, not a thing. But for us, it was very hard. The Hong Kong building department was very stringent on materials. So the ice magic you see actually there on the Hong Kong castle is built out of real glass. And you can imagine how fragile that could be because it's so thin. So we had to install it really carefully and make sure that Elsa's ice magic stayed as one piece for centuries to last, hopefully.
Here's another shot from the film showcasing that moment when the gates are finally open and Anna is leading us on the bridge up to the castle.
So we actually very closely replicated that in Fantasy Springs. We also had the opportunity to go visit some churches and buildings in Norway, same as the filmmakers. And this is actually St. Olaf's Church. No joke, that's the name of the church. And it was actually used as the inspiration of the room where Elsa had her coronation, and we used it for one of our dining rooms in the Arendal Castle. Likewise, last time I checked, there are no fjords in Tokyo. So we spent a lot of time traveling through the fjords and really paying attention to the mountains and the shapes and how the water ran down the faces. And we used that to inspire how we created the fjord to, as Michel said, hide our showbox for our attraction. And it just feels just right when you go to Frozen Kingdom.
And of course, back on Principles of Frolic directors Ron Clemens and John Musker spent a lot of time researching in New Orleans. Maybe too much time, but they had a lot of fun.
And we as a project team had the opportunity to build upon the beautiful environments that were created by the animators. Likewise, we spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and what we wanted to do, because New Orleans is a real place and it's a magical place, it has a rhythm, it has colors, it has music everywhere, we wanted to make sure that we were infusing the attraction and bringing that back for our guests to experience when they experience Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So we had an opportunity, had to take one for the team and go to Mardi Gras. But it was the very first time that I went, and I can tell you there was nothing like it. I had never experienced anything like that. The energy and just the sense of community. And so we worked very hard to bring that and to place it as a part of Chanas Val Adventure as well. And then of course, in addition to the food and the music and the colors of New Orleans, something that is very special are the people, and that's something that our project team had discovered as we got to talk to people in academia, at museums, every place that we went, people opened up their hearts and their minds and were so happy to share what makes their city really special. And we had the privilege of working with the Chase family. Now, I know many of you probably know that Leah Chase was one of the inspirations of the filmmakers for the character of Tiana. And so unfortunately, we lost Leah back in 2019. However, her daughter Stella is now in charge of the restaurant, and there are 5 generations of the Chase family that are keeping that legacy going. And so we felt like we got to see into Leah's life as well as build upon our next chapter story for Tiana as we got to know Stella and her wonderful family. In addition to that, in addition to wanting just to extract everything that we could from this city, we had a wonderful opportunity to collaborate with a number of local artists and artisans. We thought that was very important, especially those who were touching things that would be guest-facing that you as guests would experience. So we collaborated with an artist, Charita Carter, who did some wonderful inspiration pieces for us. And we were also very excited to be able to collaborate with Daryl Reeves. He's a 3rd-generation blacksmith artist, and if you go to New Orleans, you'll see how important, how prolific ironwork is throughout the city. And so to be able to work with somebody who had a hand in a lot of what you see in the city was really special. He did a weather vane for us that you will see on top of the mountain as a part of the experience. And then finally, we did have an opportunity to work with a muralist who was from an area right outside of Baton Rouge. So at Magic Kingdom, there's some very large murals that greet you as you enter into Tiana's Foods. And they're going to manifest themselves a little bit different at Disneyland, but it was just a real treat, once again, to work with artisans to bring that sense of authenticity to our guests.
Now, you all have made it very clear that you have to be inspired to inspire, and you have to have fun to help create fun. So no shame in going to Mardi Gras and having fun. I'm right there with you, Charita. So we talked about story and research. Let's talk next about the talent. Could you talk about working with original film talent, whether English language talent or foreign language talent, to create these attractions and lands?
Well, regarding foreign talent, I want to make one point before we start. When we develop attractions such as Fantasy Springs or even Beauty and the Beast, we work on out the scenes and storyboards and maquettes, but ultimately, the final script, the real entertainment value had to be the Japanese script. And it's not a translation of the English script. It's written by Charlie Watanabe, our show writer, in Japanese with our Tokyo guests in mind.
Well, yeah, there he is, the real Olaf. And if you see him walk through the lands, there is no difference between him in the movie and the real deal. It's like having somebody, a little kid walking through a candy store and just being amazed by the bigger piece of candy and another bigger piece of candy. That's how he walks through the land. So it was amazing to have him there and meet the cast. There were a lot of giggles and laughter when they started to hear him, talk and hear his voice, because he has such a recognizable voice. But it's an honor to work with these people, and that they are willing to give us their talents. So we were lucky to have Josh and others on Boulder Frozen, and very lucky that he was able to visit the land and meet our cast. That was really a joy for them.
It's so fun getting to work with all the incredible voice talent from all these different films, including the original Chinese dub of Zootopia. Fun fact, Zootopia is still the most successful Disney animated film ever released in China. And the thing that I love about recording our voice actors in Mandarin, Cantonese, and Japanese, all languages that I don't speak, is that emotion is universal. And we always have a local director, but it's incredible to be able to give an actor an emotional note. Can you be more surprised or angrier or happier? And hear that same emotion coming through in whatever language we're working in. It's really amazing to hear these characters come to life in every one of these different languages around the world.
And of course, we knew we couldn't have a Zootopia ride without a quick cameo from Flash. The fun of Flash is he speaks painfully slow and takes forever to finish the line. So in our ride, when Nick and Judy are stranded in a rainforest district, who do they call for backup? No other than Flash, 100-yard dash.
And we have to share this clip of our amazing Flash actor, Tenjin. The moment he starts acting, he becomes Flash and everything slows down, even as he's excitedly saying, "We can't let her get away."
不能让她跑掉。
Okay, laugh, it's funny. I'm in love.
And for Chana's Bayou Adventure, we had the privilege of working with all of the original cast from the animated film for the characters that are in the attraction. And here you see Michael Woolley having a magical moment with Lewis, which is really a lot of fun. Also, in addition to that, we have, not only do we have music from the film, but we did do an original song for our finale. And PJ Morton, who is a son of New Orleans, he also happens to be the piano player from Maroon 5, if you've heard of that little band. We had the opportunity to collaborate with him to write an original song. And it's called Special Spice. And then, of course, none other than Anika Noni Rose sang the song. And so I think we're going to give you a little treat right now, and you'll get to hear a little bit of that song.
Joyful celebration, don't need
right? It's so special when we get to do that. Speaking of original content, Daniel Roger, what can you tell us about creating original animation for many of these new attractions? Let's start by talking about Peter Pan at Fantasy Springs.
Well, we all love the classic Peter Pan attraction at Disneyland. We have the same at Tokyo Disneyland as well, where you fly over London. So the goal for our new attraction was to make you feel even more immersive with more music and feel like you're flying over London with Peter Pan. And so to achieve that, we worked with Disney Animation to create original 3D computer animation.
Yeah, Peter Pan, the 1953 classic, is just some of the most appealing and charming animation ever done. And so the question was, how do we capture that hand-drawn charm in computer animation? And actually, we started to figure this out back on Soaring Around the World when Imagineer Tom Fitzgerald asked us to create a Tinkerbell farewell. We tried to really capture Mark Davis's hand-drawn design and animation style. So now, with this project, we got to expand on that and faithfully build the whole cast in 3D. We had a crew of almost, isn't that great? I love that. We had a crew of almost 100 people at Disney Animation working on the show, starting with modelers, customers, technical artists doing hair and cloth simulation, and of course our incredibly smart and supportive production management team. And it was just so fun to get to play with these classic characters. In the film, there's this gorgeous world, but the truth is, when every background painting has details that disagree with other background paintings, even of the exact same object, so we had to resolve all those differences and build a 3D model that we sought to really capture the charm of the original painted backgrounds. So we had everything in Neverland and in London, including the Darlings' home. And our film's costumes, the cel-painted movie, right, have no texture. So we decided to keep our textures really simple. We're striving to make it feel like a physical, believable world, but still capturing the spirit of graphic simplicity in the movie. As Dan mentioned earlier, we couldn't have done this without Charlie Watanabe.
Yes, Charlie wrote all of the script for our attraction in Japanese, and he also directed the voice talent for Fantasy Springs. And as always with animation, we record the dialogue first, and then have the animators work with that.
I mean, Charlie is incredible. He's a great writer and director, but he's also our acting coach, who helps all of us who don't speak Japanese make sure our characters act and gesture naturally. Because when we dub our movies, we don't reanimate them. But animating directly in Japanese means that our Tokyo guests get to see our characters acting really for the first time as native Japanese speakers. Now here you see animation dailies at the studio, where animators gathered to come together stylistically on all the characters. This was especially valuable because we were channeling that bouncy, loose style of the 1953 film, and that's so different than the naturalistic style of Frozen 2, which the animators had just rolled off of. So I particularly love this photo because years earlier, the animators collectively decided that the gigantic mural they wanted in space for inspiration is Neverland. This TikTok scene has a great example of that bouncy style, and you can also see that we brought Mary Blair's beautiful background designs into 3 dimensions.
It was really important to be inspired by those Mary Blair designs, and we designed and built our full-size sets to blend seamlessly with the stereo animation from animation studios. And so once you're wearing your stereo glasses, you really cannot tell what is physically around you in the scene and what is in the media beyond.
And as we've done on films going all the way back to Snow White, we created a color script to track the time of day throughout the experience. From the top, starting with a calm dusk that leads to a fiery sunset during the battle with Captain Hook, to a perfect night sky as we fly over London, and we arrive just in time for sunrise over Neverland. To be as faithful as possible to the original, we quoted specific animation from the film to inspire our animation. We got to watch this movie a lot. And so now we're going to play the final.
Yeah, and as you watch the final animation, the things that you aren't experiencing here in this room is that your ride vehicle has a motion base that is well synchronized with the camera, and you're watching it all in 3D.
All of which took years of iteration to get right. And story-wise, we as guests are part of Peter's crew, recruited to help rescue John. So you'll see about 2/3 of the way through this, our flying boat, our ride vehicle, we bumped into a yellow-shirted pirate to knock him over.
With Peter Pan.
It was incredibly challenging, but incredibly rewarding to take these characters on a brand new adventure. And if you're wondering, the warping you see on the outside edge of the frame is because this animation was designed to be projected on enormous curved screens. Animation for Zootopia as well. For our animators who worked on the movie, this was like spending time with old friends, and for the newer animators, it was like working with celebrities.
Throughout the attraction, we mix audio animatronic figures and animation. We really wanted to blur the lines between physical sets and digital, and we knew our chase story would require our characters to move quickly through these scenes. This is where we leaned in integrating digital characters into dimensional environments. They aren't built as before like our audio animatronics. In this next video, we begin by passing Yax as an audio animatronics character before heading into the Rainforest District.
Yeah, as we approach the rainforest moment, the animation of Judy, Nick, and Gazelle in the gondola are combined with the show set in a multi-plane style to really fully integrate them into the scene.
And for our final big chase scene, we're racing after Bellwether, who still has Gazelle with Flash and who still has Gazelle with her in her getaway vehicle.
You know, as with all animation, we start with storyboards to work out the action. We follow Flash into a wrong-way tunnel, spin 360 degrees around as Judy and Nick fly in to rescue Gazelle. Bellwether races off through the crowd outside Gazelle's performing arena until she smashes into a giant ice cream cone and flies through the air where Clawhauser makes the arrest as Gazelle arrives just in time to perform at the arena.
We built full-size mock-ups to understand and fine-tune these really fast scenes. We learned so much about what did and didn't work when spinning upside down and arriving at the helicopter rescue, as well as how to transition between these dimensional and physical worlds.
Here's the second half of that chase as Bellwether races through the crowd represented by these blocks outside the arena. We first animated the central action of the camera, Bellwether, and the key animals she startles. To work this out, we made about 7 major versions of the camera and Bellwether paths. Our team animated 58 new crowd behaviors, over 15 minutes of animation to populate the scene. In all, we animated 13 hero characters, 417 choreographed background characters, flying slushies, popcorn, ice cream, a helicopter, and 1 pig. There were going to be 2 flying pigs, but I know when to simplify. And Clawhauser still makes it in time for Gazelle's concert.
Very cool. So we just saw how animation helps bring our beloved stories to life, but let's go further even with audio animatronics. How does Imagineering work together with animation on these figures? Emo?
Well, in Fantasy Springs, Frozen and Rapunzel are chock full of audio animatronic characters. They are literally everywhere. We wanted to take these characters to the next level, and so we get very close to these figures as we ride through the scenes, and so we wanted to tackle the challenge of creating amazingly expressive faces. And there are so many different faces in these attractions.
Yeah, creating these figures is a really tight collaboration between Disney Animation and Imagineering's amazing audio animatronics team. We started by working together to figure out what is the acting intention in every scene for each character. And then Disney animators pose the characters using our film's computer models, setting their expressions and body attitude to capture that emotion. And then we pass those models on to WDI along with lots of film reference.
And then beyond just the mechanics of the animatronics, we also look at their costuming, and we work directly with the film's art directors to understand the design intent behind every fabric choice, every embroidery detail, jewelry, hair, everything.
Yeah, which is so great because in the computer, every detail is thoughtfully designed, so getting to hear that from the film designers directly is really helpful. For example, this is Frozen's art director Mike Giamo at Pop working with Imagineer Heather Green to faithfully recreate these costumes from the film. And there's a tremendous attention to detail that everyone puts in to capture characters' skin tones, makeup, costumes, and intricate hairdos, both for our Frozen and Rapunzel attractions. But even Rapunzel can have a bad hair day.
We don't do
Creating what we lovingly called Rapunzel's hair tornado was a crazy challenge. We went back to Disney animator Glenn Keane's original film notes on how to style and animate her hair.
Our Rapunzel finale then takes us to the Lantern Festival with Flynn and Rapunzel falling in love. So how did we set up that finale? Well, we started the design with a model to map out the whole scene with not just Rapunzel and Flynn's boat, the lanterns, but also other ships and how our ride path wanders through that scene.
Yeah, these figures are an amazing collaboration with such a wide array of disciplines. I mean, mechanical, electronic, robotic engineers, costume designers, seamstresses, embroiderers, jewelry makers, hair designers, programmers, and animators. And here you see Charlie Watanabe sharing acting suggestions with myself and our Creative Legacy supervising animator Daryl Johnson, who animated on the movie Tangle and was super excited to animate the scene. Just as we shared digital models, the audio animatronic performance now starts with animation on the computer. These computer models exactly match the mechanical consideration and limits of the actual figures. As you'll see here, once we've completed the virtual animation, that data is transferred to the audio animatronics. That's just a sliver of the 3 minutes of animation of that entire song. Of course, with our Frozen attractions, the centerpiece is Elsa singing Let It Go. Hey, Mom.
Oh, she's wiping away tears from Rapunzel scene. Yeah, so in Tokyo, the climax of Let It Go is joining Elsa as she builds that ice palace around her.
That's right, and Elsa's ice magic has such a very specific look, whose design of the film was led by our artist Dan Lund there on the right. But designing magic to play all around you in a dimensional space brings lots of unique challenges.
Yeah, and our team was so happy to work with Dan. There were years and years of planning, but it all came together when Dan actually traveled to Tokyo to work with the team there.
And here's what I'll
Here's how it all came together.
For Zootopia, the process was very much the same, but instead of princesses and queens, we have water buffalo, cheetahs, foxes, rabbits, and even gazelles. It's always great to step right into a scene from a film like Bogo's Briefing Room. A Disney animator posed Bogo's expression and body and passed it on to WDI.
Yeah, Bogo's this towering, intimidating figure, and we spent a lot of time getting him just right. No, he stands over 8 feet tall and really makes you feel as small as Judy did on her first briefing. And the briefing is a drug about Bellator's kidnap video and then Judy and Nick calling in. Amazingly.
我们知道快门油在哪了。
什么？在哪儿？
白掌鱼管的公司。
把所有警员都派到滨川镇。万一他们搞砸了，你们俩要负责。现在上警车。
Animated characters are never designed with the audio and electronics engineering in mind, but sometimes it feels like they're designed to to make things intentionally difficult. Great example, Gazelle's slender neck, skinny arms, and hips that don't lie also presented many challenges.
You know, she's a superstar performer, so getting the details right was so important. That meant capturing her energy and creating her layered skirt with fabrics to really celebrate that hip movement. She wraps our adventure performing her signature song along with her tiger backup dancers and her biggest fans in the front row, like Claw has her dancing while still holding on to Bellwether stuck in the giant building.
Work that was being done for the other projects, we were able to glean from that work for Rapunzel and Zootopia and bring to life Tiana, Naveen, and a number of our different characters into as audio animatronics.
Now, as we began translating our hand-drawn characters into dimensional figures, we were fortunate to have the three amazing lead animators from the film still at work. Lewis animator Eric Goldberg, Tiana animator and soon-to-be legend Mark Henn, and Naveen animator Randy Haycock. So like on Peter Pan, we sought to create the canonical 3D models of these wonderful characters. And it was really a joy for everyone as Eric, Mark, and Randy worked closely with our modelers.
It was so gratifying to pile those learnings from Frozen and Rapunzel. And we had some unique challenges with Mama Odie, who is a very unique character. And as you can see, she really just jumps out of the screen and comes to life. And isn't her face gorgeous?
Yeah. She is amazing. You know, we talk a lot about collaboration, but I really want to point out that collaboration is not a lot of people working on a project. It's a lot of people working together, bringing their unique and special talents and experience to create something magical that none of us could do alone.
And then, of course, there was a magical moment where Jennifer Lewis, who voices Mama Odie, had the opportunity to come and meet her in the space. And I know a number of you have seen the video online of her just having that wonderful moment with Mama Odie. And then it was also very important for us as, you know, we look at Tiana, who is with us on the adventure, leading the way. We wanted to make sure that she was really connecting with us. And so the approach that we took for the auto-animatronic figure was that she would connect with us, she would look at us, because she is with us on this adventure.
And with Nicanoni Rose's amazing performance of the song, WDI audio-animatronic animator Jessica Badgerow did an incredible job bringing Tiana to life. And what's even more remarkable is when you realize that Tiana shares most of her engineering with the Elsa figure, but she made her truly unique.
Research, talent, music, animation, and audio animatronic figures. And it's now time to talk about the end product. I know firsthand that this is one of the most fun moments for Imagineers to end the project and start sharing it with friends and colleagues. What's that like, everyone? Let's get into it.
Well, we had the opportunity to bring the Frozen writer, director, and Disney Animation Chief Creative Officer, Jen Lee, to our project site, where she got to take a look at all of the beautiful things in the Fantasy Springs project. And honestly, when she came into Frozen, the first scene with little Anna knocking at the door, she literally collapsed in tears at seeing her story brought to life for the very first time.
And opening days with our international parks, especially in Japan, it's very rare to get team members together because we all, live in other parts of the world. So it was really, really special to share opening day with so many team members, some of whom came from the United States to experience that. That was really wonderful to experience. We did get to walk the land and ride the attractions with our leader, Bob Iger. And it was really, really wonderful when he said to us that the land nearly brought him to tears after walking the land. So that was really a special compliment.
Yeah, and of course, when you see the first guests enter the land, that's always a very emotional moment, see those reactions. But I was really glad that we were able to celebrate our achievements also with the WDI team, the Walt Disney Imagineering team. A lot of them on World of Frozen were actually in Hong Kong, so that was a great moment. We also had the executives come over for the grand opening of the land, so that was another highlight. And Jennifer Lee, following a certain pattern, I think, because she also teared up pretty much, for quite a long time during her visit to the land. And for me personally, it was great to have my parents, fly over all the way from Europe to be at the grand opening also of the land. And it was just really special to have that and have them see what their son was up to for 7 years. So.
After 7 years of working on Zootopia, it was just, so incredibly humbling having guests in the land. We really designed it specifically for the Shanghai audience and took everything we love about Zootopia and made it just work for that audience. And it's really, they've sort of taken the sense of ownership over since we opened. It's just really rewarding to see that. Oh, and of course, vividly remember the very first day we had guests in the lobby. There were actually cast members who were doing audio tests. And what I wasn't expecting was to see them all interact with Clawhouse. Everyone's off with their phones and looking at him and waving to him and sort of feeling like he was this real real cheetah up there talking, and then that's really what it's all about. It really was the thing that told us we'd done our job well.
And it was an incredible treat being with Zootopia writer-director Jared Bush, walking the land. As someone who dreamed up this world, he could not get over that the place was now real. And as we stepped into the lobby together for the first time, he said, I remember writing, we land at the front desk and find Claude Moser, a pudgy cheetah cop, happily eating a bowl of Lucky Charms cereal, and here I am standing in front of him, and the Lucky Charms right there.
And the day finally came when we were able to bring to our guests in Magic Kingdom, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, with an amazing team that all came together with a common vision. And Carmen Smith, who is, I believe, in the audience here, our creative executive for the attraction, she and I had the privilege of hanging out at the Execute. And of course, going along with that theme, there were a lot of tears, but there was also a lot of joy and a sense of celebration. And it was also really cool to be there when the talent from the film had an opportunity to experience as well. All of them are characters in their own right, and it was just a lot of fun.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I just want to say that all of us at Disney Animation are so honored by the love and care that you all put into our stories. And I'm just so grateful and constantly impressed working with you all, bringing our stories to life in the park. So thank you so much.
We make your dreams come true. We bring tears and joy, but we also bring joy and cry too. Even Bob Iger was fucking tears because that's highest praise. On that note, sadly, that's all the time we have for today. We covered a lot in an hour plus. I wanted to thank the panel for their fun stories and for sharing them with all of you. Imagineering animation, and we hope you will enjoy what we've created in our parks. But please make sure to check out the Imagineering Pavilion to learn more. And thank you, everyone, and have a great day.